Russia has never supported Muammar Gaddafi. That's the key message from Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who also opposed NATO methods to remove the former Libyan leader. Yegor Piskunov has more on Russia's answer to the Libyan conflict.
Moscow has recognized the National Transitional Council as the sole legitimate power in Libya, and according to Russia's foreign minister, since the very beginning of the conflict, Russia has been stressing that it's up to the Libyan people to decide in which direction they want to see their country moving in and whom should be at power. But it's the methods with which Gaddafi is being forced from power which are raising a lot of questions here in Moscow.
Russia has never approved of the former Libyan regime. Back in May, President Medvedev clearly stated that Gaddafi should go. But the way the United Nations resolutions were implemented by some NATO members and other states meant that the principle of the supremacy of law was being disregarded. The African Union and UN initiatives were ignored, leading to an increase in civilian casualties. However, it was the protection of the civilian population that was set as the major objective of the Security Council resolutions implemented by NATO. We're absolutely sure that justice cannot be done using unlawful methods.
Just to remind you, during the UN Security Council vote on the resolution, Russia abstained, thus de facto letting the no-fly resolution be passed. But since then, various Russian officials have been accusing the alliance of misinterpreting the resolution, of acting far beyond its legal mandate. For example, Russia's envoy to NATO, Dmitry Rogozin, has been saying that NATO has been abusing the resolution in its own interests.
Well, let's talk more about the future of the Libyan state. I'm joined live now by Chris Nineham from the Stop the War Coalition based in London. Many thanks for being with us here, Mr. Nineham. So the so-called Friends of Libya are meeting today in Paris, as we've been saying. What is this meeting really all about, and what sort of results can we expect to come out of it?
Well, I mean, I think the whole basis of the meeting is frankly quite shocking. We're in a situation now where the old regime appears to be over in Libya, and any aspiring new regime should be spending its time listening to the desires of the ordinary people in Libya, not listening to the lectures which I reckon they're going to be getting from the world's great powers. It strikes me that this is like something out of the 19th century, where the big imperialist colonial powers are dictating to what is basically a leadership they themselves have selected about exactly who's going to get what. France is going to get 35% of the oil. No doubt Britain will be putting in a big claim for another third or so. Other countries will be following suit. Outrageously, the meeting is being chaired by the two main protagonists, the British Prime Minister and the French leader, who are going to be chairing a meeting about the future of Libya. What is going on? We were told this was a war that was being fought for humanitarian reasons. It's in fact turned into what is basically a NATO takeover of the country, as far as I can see.
So, Mr. Nineham, that's what you think this is all about? Foreign nations lecturing Libya. The Friends of Libya themselves have described this as a meeting in which they can decide how best they can support the NTC in Libya.
Well, I mean, the meeting happens at the same time as it is being announced that there's been a deal made between the Transitional National Council and the French about how much of Libya's oil the French are going to get. That is a direct payment in kind for the massive aerial bombardments that were carried out by the French. So clearly this is about, this is a kind of carve-up. This is an imperial payback that the French government.
Well, this agreement that's been struck with France that is still at this moment unconfirmed. The NTC has reportedly promised to give, as you say, 35% of crude oil produced in Libya to the French in exchange for support that's, quote, total and permanent.
Well, I mean, you know, this is supposed to be a sovereign country, Libya. We shouldn't be in a situation where deals are being made in terms of the natural resources of that country. If this was indeed a movement for democracy, a movement for popular power, if this had anything to do with the Arab Spring that is developing throughout the region, then we'd be talking about the Libyans deciding for themselves what they do with the oil. It's an absolute outrage that this is happening. And
but this is a deal that's been struck by the NTC. This is the deal that's been struck by the NTC.
But the NTC is not an elected government, by the way. I haven't noticed there being any elections in Libya. The NTC has been essentially appointed by the big powers around the world. Russia is now backing them as well, and 60 countries are coming to Paris for a conference about the future of Libya. Why is this happening? It's not, you know, this is a big power carve-up. Essentially, this is an international kind of.
But surely you must concede that the NTC, the National Transitional Council, is spearheaded by those Libyans who have led this uprising against the Gaddafi regime within Libya.
Well, the NTC is spearheaded by Mahmoud Jibril, who was a leading figure in the Gaddafi regime, a minister for the Gaddafi regime until earlier this year. He's spent a lot of time in the United States teaching in various academic institutes. He's a leading neoconservative, a kind of neoliberal economist. He is the West's choice, essentially, and he's completely. As I say, he's completely complicit in many of the crimes that have been carried out by the Gaddafi regime. So, you know, this is a very, very seedy transition process that is taking place, and it's being driven clearly by the Western powers. There's not been any election in Libya. No one knows who the Transitional Council really are. No one knows to what extent they have popular support. You know, I mean, it's obviously a matter of great celebration. The Gaddafi regime has gone, but I fear very much about where this new colonially imposed government is going to take the country.
OK, Mr. Nineham from the Stop the War coalition based in London, thanks for those thoughts.